Hi, I'm Michael Everts, and this is Fit to be Read. Today, you're gonna vote on my next read. I've been really busy lately. One of the reasons why is I've been coaching my son's 8th grade soccer team. I was not planning to do this, it just happened. I'm glad to do it, I'm actually really enjoying it, but it does mean that I have less time to film and make videos and edit videos and read books. So I came right from the game. I'm up here, we didn't play at this field, but this is a park near my house, so you get to see a little bit around Northwest Washington, D.C. here. This is a great location. It's just steps from my house. I want you to vote today on one of 6 books. I just finished reading the Foundation trilogy for the second time by Isaac Asimov, wonderful series, and then also a reread of Dahlgren by Samuel R. Delany. I have a bunch of books that I feel like reading next, but I figured I would enlist your help. I've got 6 books for you today. I want you to vote for one. Whichever book gets the most votes, that's what I'm going to be reading next. This first one today would be a reread, and this is sort of a mood read. This is just something I feel like reading recently. And this is More Than Human by Theodore Sturgeon, published in 1954. More Than Human is immediately engaging because of really great prose. This novel really delivers. It's very interesting. It's strange in a good way. It's a story about 6 people with mental powers who blesh, that's meshing and blending together, creating one being. Telekinesis, teleportation, a mind like a computer. Despite being much more than 50 years old, this is a timeless read. I suspect, though I haven't read this in decades, I'm gonna absolutely love this reread. Also, if my recent Foundation reread is any indication of my waning memory, this could feel like reading it for the first time. Also, if you remember, I did a reading schedule video recently talking about books that I do plan on reading in the near future. Should I read The Mountain and the Sea by Ray Naylor next? It's discovered that a certain species of octopus are intelligent and have developed language and culture. This supposedly has some benefits that humans can study and exploit, and likely do so, regardless of how the octopi feel about it. Part of me is rooting for this one to win the vote, since I haven't read much new science fiction lately, and I'm definitely liking that this has androids and an underwater atmosphere. I brought this up to the park with me. I've got the reading glasses on. I'm gonna read through this just a little bit, not to start reading it, I just wanna get a little bit more of a feel for what this book is about. The Road by Cormack McCarthy, published in 2006. This was the most popular book based on the comments on my Gap Reads video, reading Gap's books that are popular that I haven't read yet. In The Road, a father and son navigating a post-apocalyptic world will try to make it to the coast in hopes of a better situation and a greater chance of survival. Adventure, journey fiction against a post-apocalyptic backdrop is a strong enough hook for me. Father-son stuff is always a strong hook for me also, as it makes it more relatable and likely a more emotional read. Another thing I do with my time in the summers is working on the garden. You can see I've got the hydrogen peroxide back here. This helps with root rot on some of my plants. Let's take a look here. We've got the garden. Anyway, let's talk about another book that was on my Gap Reads video. This one got a lot of love, so I'm gonna put this up for a vote as well. Earth Abides by George R. Stewart, published in 1949. This is a classic and iconic post-apocalyptic novel in which humanity is nearly wiped out by a virus. The narrative centers on a small group of survivors and one man in particular. In the Gap Reads video, I mentioned that this is one of the books on the list that I'd probably be most likely to get to sooner rather than later. I just don't actually see that happening now unless it's the top vote getter on this video. Let me give you a quick tour here of the garden. We've got some radish growing here around the tomatoes. I make these cages out of a contractor's mesh. We roll these up and tie them off. We've got some tomatoes. Started these ones here from seed. We got some interesting variety like Sibersky, Arnevsky. These are Russian varieties. This one's got a little bit of wilt on the leaf, so we'll have to give that some treatment. Everything here is organic. We have some sun golds, and this is a big Zac. So these will come out with like maybe 2 or 3 pound fruits. They get pretty large, so I like to grow for size. Last year I did an anticipated reads, new releases video, and one of the books on there was The Terraformers by Annalee Newitz, and that is published in 2023, January this year, so that should already be out. The setup for Terraformers sounds really interesting. The novel's set for our future, and not surprisingly, it centers on a world being terraformed. I'm curious to see some expected themes of corporations exploiting the process and the impact that this has on the human characters in the story. I'm trying to get some new releases read before we get any deeper into the year, and some of the early reviews that I've seen for this one have been very promising. The last book that you have the option of voting for also comes from my anticipated reads video, and that is Lords of Uncreation, book number 3 of the Final Architect series by Adrian Tchaikovsky, published this year in 2023. I was blown away by the first 2 books of the Final Architects series. You can see them, they're somewhere up here on the shelf, I think. You'll find reviews of both Shards of Earth and Eyes of the Void on my channel. I also made some REM-inspired parody tribute music for the Eyes of the Void intro, if you're interested in checking that out. From everything that I've heard from those who've beat me to it, Lords of Uncreation is going to wrap up the series with some exciting answers. In Shards of the Earth, the series opens introducing some interesting characters, mainly the crew of the salvage ship, the Vulture God. Among the crew are humans and aliens, each with their own unique traits and backstories. Most significant among them in the story is Idris, a navigator, who's crucial to piloting the ship faster than light, as well as facing down, so to speak, the moon-sized aggressors, the Architects. The Architects are destroyers of worlds. The books are action-packed. Book 1 focuses on trying to uncover why the Architects are attacking. Book 2 does much more of the same, but with more action and a pivot to trying to find out where the Architects are coming from and who or what is pulling their strings. There are a few more books that are on my target and I have intentions of reading very soon, but I didn't want to put them all up for a vote and overwhelm you. Not making the cut, also from my Gap Reads video, is Annihilation by Jeff Vandermeer. There's the mysterious Area X that a team of 4 women, scientists, and other experts will investigate. I was thinking about trying to work this into my reading schedule, and I mentioned that I like that it gave me some Solaris vibes. I think that I'm actually going to read Solaris again soon, so I might put this one off further, as Solaris should scratch my philosophical mood read itch for the time being, but this was one that a lot of people recommended in the comments on that Gap Reads video that I get to sooner rather than later. I also talked about on my intended reading schedule video the Vorkosigan Saga by Lois McMaster Bujold. This is Barayar, so I probably won't start with this. I'll probably start with Shards of Honor, which makes sense. I'm not going to put this one up for a vote, as I've got little doubt that I'm going to get back into this series really soon. I've been looking forward all year to getting back into the exploits of Miles Vorkosigan and the spacefaring Vorkosigan clan in this vast series of terrific space opera that hits on nearly all subgenres of science fiction, especially military science fiction and artificial intelligence. You do not get to vote to make me read fantasy just yet. Also on my Gap Reads was Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson. I was thinking that it would be fun to toss this fantasy novel in just to see if folks would want to vote to have me read fantasy. I decided that I'm just not ready just yet to detour that direction. There's also Hopeand. This is a new release from Ian McDonald, so this was on my anticipated release video also. This one is one that I still want to get to before the end of the year. I didn't want to overwhelm with too many options, so again, I'm leaving this one off of the voting. Rachel at Shades of Orange has read this, and she had some thoughts on it on her channel, so if you're interested, check that out. Then finally, I've got, I don't know if this is finally, but I do have Noor. I really thought that I was going to read this Nnedi Okorafor novel when it came out last year. I'm still not sure when I'm going to get around to this one. I believe that the setting is a dystopian future Nigeria, and the main character is differently abled. There's a mega corporation that deals in cybernetic body enhancements or body parts. The premise definitely has my attention. And finally, A Scanner Darkly. I almost added this to the voting because I've been craving this really recently. I've been craving this reread since I saw this first edition of this in a used bookstore last week. I've been on a PKD hiatus since last year, so even without the vote, I'm gonna revisit this story of Bob Arctor, a drug-addicted undercover cop who's quickly losing his grip on reality. I also want to reread Ubik soon. For those of you who have read both, which would you reread first? Thank you for watching. I'm Michael Everts, and this is Fit to be Read.